Yeah.
It might not even be, just in film and animation. I think it could be people looking elsewhere for outside of the animation industry and creative like entertainment industry for that kind of like that that freedom and creativity. I know
Yeah.
that I know a lot of in Toronto. I went to life drawing with some insanely good like mural artists who were like are doing work around the world, like on these huge like beautiful figurative works. Um and that's kind of that really inspires me, that they're very much like doing their own thing. And I think there's almost a push for that more analog kind of work. And maybe, I know they were saying they've had a lot of people like customers asking for like hand painted signs, things that are kind of like on, just done in Photoshop or whatever other kind of copy paste, like you said, that safe stuff. And they want a bit of a hand crafted feel. And I really hope if anything comes out of this, like, kind of sad state of the industry, it's like, artists taking risks, like you said, whether it's independent, like,
Yeah.
entertainment, or putting their skills elsewhere, because, sometimes we get lost and we think, fuck, this is the only thing that we can do. We're like stuck in a bubble. And it's like, for example, Aldi from Sink and Chip.
Yeah.
Hey, Aldi. He's now left the industry, and he's, well, for the time being, and he's just become a full-time apprentice tattooist, and he's like doing absolutely kick-ass work. He's decided to like take his skills into like
Yeah.
a different sector. And I think that's so inspiring. I think that's so cool. He's like,
That's
he took
awesome.
the plunge to kind of like, he put together a portfolio. He went out, he knocked on doors, and he found this really cool studio in Toronto who now are taking them under his wing. And he's going to like keep on going, learning new skills, but using the skills that he already has
Yeah.
built up over the years to start this like exciting career. And I'm like, wow, honestly, I find that like amazing. And I think more and more of us need to look outside of this bubble that we've created, sometimes, that because we feel like we trap ourselves in here. We look at our
True.
bills and we're like, shit,
Well,
I've got to work for someone else. But we're the people who the industry's built off, and we're the people
Yeah.
that scale. Take us all away, it's all going to crumble down. In fact,
Even like
that's a beautiful image, actually.
yeah, it's funny because most of the time we work with like so many talented people that are sick of doing the work that they're doing, just because it's like the same thing over and over, right? But like what you mentioned about that, yeah, I didn't know about Audi. That's great, man.
Yeah, it's only recent. And Sammy as well, she's now got an illustration agent. She's doing these like travel comics. They're like absolutely beautiful work, and like from her travels in Japan, and she's now got an agent. They're trying to get the book published. They're doing shit, and it's like that's something to be like truly inspired by.
Man, if you're a creative person who has abilities to generate images, like real like passion about doing those, there's so many industries that can use your talents. It's not just like entertainment, right? Like
for sure.
And even within entertainment is not just animation and games and visual and movies, right? Because like again, from when I started, like just going back, that wasn't like even a possibility for me working on animation. So I automatically was looking on the margins of what, right? Like using that for different things. If you think about it, like when you get a children's book, like there's the storybooks, those are more obvious, right? But then you get like science content for high school. There's so many illustrations in there. Like somebody had to make those,
Yeah, it was probably me before I became before I did that. And I got
and like when and then like you go to a dentist's office, like they use 3D models to make prosthetics, and like on university books they gotta learn like how like there's visualization of how the tooth works and how the like medical models, car models. Like I did some work before for a handle manufacturer for doors, and it was just like modeling things for them to be able, because they had the CAD drawings, they didn't have a way of showing the clients how that's going to look on their door. So I was like getting their blueprints and making the file and like making renders out of it. So there's so many other things we can do with our skills that's not just animation that we forget. I forget too. Like
me too. Me too.
Yeah, even like I told you that story, right? Like before of when I first got here, when I first started applying for jobs.
I was hoping you'd tell this story.
Yeah. I couldn't, like, I emailed every animation studio that I knew of, and nobody replied me. So I started looking at like Monster Jobs and Manpower and all those random like websites, and they kind of withhold information from, like, they don't tell you who, like, I don't know if now it's different, but at the time, like, they didn't. It was like a 3D modeler needed and a description of the job, sort of, but not, you don't know what company it is. It's kind of. So I booked an interview, was in Brampton, and I was living in Market at the time. So it was like 2 or 3 hours for me to get there because I didn't have a car. I had to like, I got a bus down to Union Station. I got a train to Brampton, and then I had to get another bus and walk like on midsummer. And then I finally got there, and it's like this huge building. It's like a very industrial looking building. And when I get in, everybody's wearing a suit and like very well dressed. It's like, what the hell is this? And then the lady explains to me that they are a sex toy manufacturer, and she gives me a catalog that's this big, like this thick, and for me to flip over as I wait for my interview. And I was like, there were some things that I've never seen before. So I interview, and they're like, I'm showing like cartoon characters, and they're showing me dildos of all sizes, and they're like, oh, if you're in, and like I had back in Brazil, I sold my car, and that's the money that I used to come to Canada, and I was running out of money, so I needed something. And I'm like, okay, let's see where this goes.
Yeah, definitely.
So they sent me a test. I get home, I look at the email. There is the test for me to do, and it's like the drawings of this thing that it looks almost like a samurai sword, a pirate sword handle, but the handle is like a pirate sword, but the sword was very fat. So I assume where that goes. So I modeled that, and I sent them back like about, I think it was like an hour after receiving it, and they were like, how long did, like, I just sent you this, like, how long did it take you? And I'm like, oh, it took me about like 20 minutes, 30 minutes to do it, because it was like very simple shapes.
You were like, I've got one at home, I could reference it.
And then like, and they were like, this is insane, like the last guy we had took a week to make this.
Jesus. And I'm like,
and then so I'm like, okay, I guess I'm hired. And then I didn't hear from them for like another 2 weeks. And I'm like, oh man. So I start looking, and I ended up getting the job at Spin, and then they called me. So they called me like, oh, can you start next week? I was like, no, sorry, I got another job. But it was like, I was this close from modeling dicks for a living. And my portfolio would be totally different nowadays.
Yeah, shit. It's crazy. I mean, I never had that, but I almost got a job doing illustrations for like cakes. You know how when they sell cakes in like supermarkets. But I went for the interview, and this is a total trip down memory lane. And the car at the time, I think I was pulling into the building, and it was quite far away from where I lived. I had to like drive for about like an hour and a half, and I was driving into the car park, and this car came out. I remember it was a yellow Mini, and I reversed out, and I think I might have like hit another car. In fact, I know I kind of like touched it, but I was like, I got out, I looked around, I was like, oh, it's okay. I just like nudged it. So I drove in, did the interview. They're really happy, and then like I was like, yeah, they're pretty much like, you got the job, like you can start. And I was driving home, like, well, happy. And I got a phone call, and they were like, excuse me, we've just seen you on CCTV crashing into this car. So we're not going to offer you the job. And I was like, oh shit, I should have just told them I did that. But so I was like, I understand. And I just never heard from them again. And I just, luckily their insurance either, because there was nothing there, I swear. But I should have just told them that. But you know, that was a lucky break because I could have been working still there, like, you know, designing characters for cakes. But maybe it's a
you never know.
That'll teach me.
Oh man.
Yeah, I remember that day so well. I was like, oh man,
losing a job opportunity because you're a bad driver.